All right, so this next part is we're going to calculate a weighted mean, which is very similar to what we were doing before. So weighted mean, when we talk about weights, we have different ways of gaining a weight. So previously, when we were looking at that data with the presidents and their ages, the frequency that we had in those columns is kind of a weight. So it's telling you that this is it's in that case, it's the frequency is telling you how much that is weighing into the calculation, because a variable that is more frequent is going to have more pull on the calculation than one that's less frequent. So when we talk about weighted means, sometimes it's something that makes sense, like frequency, it's natural, it's what you expect would happen. And then there's weights that are arbitrary weights, are the kind of weights that we make up. So like when you look at your syllabus and you see things, like my homework's worth 20% of my grade and my exams are worth 30% of my grade. Those percents are weights that when we made that syllabus, decided that that was how much value we put into those particular assignments, that they believe that exams should have a big weight on your grade. So those are things that are kind of arbitrary. Another case that's a little bit, maybe not as arbitrary, but grade point averages also do that. So we're going to compute, if we want to compute a weighted mean, we assign a positive number called a weight to each number with the numbers that count more getting larger weights. So if we have these variables here, so my actions are going to be data values, the data that we're given, and W are going to be my weights. So like I said, this is how much pull we think something should have. If we want to figure out what the mean is from a weighted average, so we're going to have an X bar and then we put a subscript W to mean a weighted average or a weighted mean. We're just going to take those weights and those X's, multiply them together and divide by the summation of our weight. So essentially we're doing this. I think I wrote that a little backwards. This would match a little better here. Nothing's any different. Summation of weight times X. We're dividing that by the summation of our weight. Okay. So as an example here, we have last semester, Joe took 4 courses. He got an A in statistics, which is worth 5 credit hours. This is the weight that was assigned to the class. We decided that that class has a weight of 5 credit hours. In psychology, which is a 4 credit hour class, which is also the weight. A C in English, which is also a weight of 3 credit hours, and an A in music, which had a weight of 2 credit hours. Okay. The other part here, my A, my B, my C, my other A, these are your X's. So this is the data that we're measuring. Because what we want to figure out is we want to compute GPA or grade point average. We need to look at those grades and we're trying to calculate a mean grade. But like I said, we assign weights to each one of these grades. So I'm going to get rid of this part down here for just a bit. So it's going to work like this. I'm going to make a little chart here. So I'm going to put the class, but it's not actually a variable. It's not the variable that we're interested in. So we can keep this clear. So you have the class or the course. You have your X, and then you have your weight. So looking at the course, we have statistics. So statistics, we get an A in statistics. And right down here, we are told that an A is basically worth 4 points. So it's a quantitative measure for an A. Instead of writing A here, we're going to say 4. The weight is the credit hours, and that class weighed 5 credit hours. So the next class with psychology, In psychology with a B, and we're told that B is worth 3 quality points. We're going to put a 3 there. And then the weight that that psychology class had a weight of 4 credit hours. What was my next class? My next class is English. So English, that class has a C, and we're told here the C is worth 2 quality points or 2 points. And the weight of this English class carried a credit weight of 3 credit hours. In music, my last one, carried a credit weight of 2 credit hours, but we had an A, so the X is going to be 4 there. So if I want to calculate my weighted mean, I need a summation of my X's times their W's and a summation of my W's or my weight. We're going to add one more column here. We need X times W. So what we have here is X is 5. It's a grade of a 4, but weights 5. So that's going to have a total of 20. Psychology will be 12. English will be 6. And music will be 8. So I want a summation of my XWs. So that will be the 20 plus the 12 plus 6 plus the 8. And it's going to be 46. You need a summation of those weights. And those weights were the 5, the 4, the 3, and the 2. So that is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. When I calculate my grade point average, it's going to be that 46 divided by that 14. Let me find that again really quick because I accidentally covered it. That will be a 3.29. So usually go 2 decimal places out for GPA. So I know a lot of times we're talking about you go 1 decimal place out from our calculations. This case, GPA has always been 2 decimal points, so we're going to leave it 2 decimal points. So we're averaging about, what is that? Probably a little over a B in this class, I think. Oh, no, wait, no, it's an A minus. We got an A minus altogether. Okay. So as an example for you, give you a chance to pause and work on it. So an algebra course calculates final grades using the following weights. Where say homeworks has a weight of 5% of your grade, quizzes a weight of 25, exams 30, final exams 30. So when you assign the weight, work on it. A lot of times we convert it to decimal. You don't necessarily have to, you just got to be careful if you do that. So you have an 85 in homework, a 79 in quizzes, a 90 in exams, and a 93 on your final exam. These are your X's. I'm going to click those and calculate what would be the final grade in this class. So you have the X's and you have the weight. So I'll give you a minute on that one. Now, I'll show you 2 ways to go about it. You can try doing it with decimals, you can try doing it without. It's just going to be a little different either way you do it. Okay. I'm going to do this in 2 different ways. I'm going to write down some information here so I know that's my weight. So I know my X's. There we go. Just writing in white. There we go. So X1 is 85, X2 is 79, X3 is 90, X4 is 93. So I'm going to white out the bottom here so we have a little bit of room. So I'm going to do this with decimal. So I'm going to use the percents. I'm going to do this with decimal. So what we have here is that if I want my x, I need a summation of the weights and the x's divided by a summation of the weights. What I have here is my first one is I got 85. A grade of 85 weighs 15%. A grade of 79 and the weight on quizzes is going to be 25. I got that 90 in exams. The weight on that is 30. And then I got a 93 on a final exam. The weight of that is also 30. So I want to divide by my weights. So on my top, I get 8,740. And the bottom should be 100 because I'm doing percents. Ideally, that equals 100. So this is going to be 87.4. So that is your final grade in that class. We did this with decimals. The decimals kind of avoids having to divide by a W, and I'll kind of show you why here in a sec. If we did decimals, then I would have done 85 times 0.15, and then I would have done 79 times 0.25. So it's just the percent that I'm changing. 90, 0.3. Show you what's going on because sometimes we're told different things about this. 93 is 0.3. Now, if we summed up all those decimals, what it should actually sum to is 1. We don't actually need to do this part at the bottom because then we're just going to have 87.4 over 1 or just 87.4. A lot of times when we have percentages as weights, we just convert them in the decimals because in that case, I didn't even need to do this part at the bottom because we already knew it was going to equal 1.